Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. My name is Reverend Dr. Kate Walker, and I am so honored and privileged to serve as the minister of this beloved community. We are so glad you have chosen to be with us this morning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever made you choose to be with us this morning, or perhaps it's this evening or next week, we're just delighted to have you with us in our community. Whatever made you choose, you are welcome. If you are a longtime friend or a brand new person, we hope that you will reach out to us. We hope you know that we want you to be part of our community. We are a community dedicated to eradicating wherever injustice has woven its way into the fabric of life. I am live here this morning in our beautiful sanctuary, but I am not alone. I have an incredible team that's helping me put this service together, and I am delighted to be welcoming as our liturgist, Ward Kelsey. For all ages is Erica Shadowsong, who is going to introduce a wonderful video that I think you'll really enjoy. I'm delighted to welcome back Ellen Goshen, who after her leave this fall, we're delighted to have her. And of course, we have on our hymn leader, Sue Erkwitz and Matty Izzo on flute. And our tech wizards this morning are Will Snavely and Andrew Papelli. On behalf of all of us, thank you very much for being with us. If this is your very first time, we hope you will be in touch with us. If you haven't done already, please go to our website. Down at the bottom, you can sign up for our newsletter, and then you can start to get our announcements and things that are happening and going on. And if you would like to join us for social hour, which will follow this service on Zoom, you can send an email to First Unitarian Pittsburgh, all one word, firstunitarianpittsburgh@gmail.com. You'll get an auto response with that Zoom link. I also want to announce that today from 1 to 2:15 on Zoom, we're going to have a community conversation about today's worship. It's a conversation about a challenge, a vision of where this community can go with a congregation-wide focus on engaging in environmental and climate justice. So please join us. You can find that Zoom link in one of two places, either in your weekly news email that came out on Thursday, or it's also in the email that came out with the order of service and this YouTube link. So please give us some time from 1 to 2:15 this afternoon. I'll invite you now to take a deep breath with me and allow yourself to arrive mentally, physically, and spiritually into this time and place of worship, however that means for you. Be present in your body. Let go of the list of things to do and just settle in. Picture yourself connected to everybody else who is part of this community. We have a few here in our sanctuary, and this is who we are these days. We may be physically apart, but spiritually and emotionally, we are always connected. I invite Ward to light our chalice. May the flame of this Unitarian Universalist symbol inspire us to expand our horizon, expand our hope with possibilities as we contemplate how we're going to react to the threat of environmental destruction and racism. How do we maintain our hope when faced with these challenging questions? Welcome, welcome to you all. I invite you to sing, "Where is Our Holy Church?" 113.
Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ, where a human heart, a sacred torch of truth has lit, by inspiration taught? Where is our Holy One? A mighty host respond. The people rise in every land to break the captive's bond. Where is our holy land? Within the human soul,
Power. The following video is called Words Have Power. It's offered by an organization, a local organization called Young Voices for the Planet. The mission of Young Voices for the Planet is to limit and mitigate the magnitude and impacts of climate change by empowering youth through uplifting and inspiring success stories to take an essential role in informing themselves, their peers, and their communities, becoming leaders and changing laws, changing minds, and changing the world. 10-year-old Jasa rallies the community with her speeches about how the power plant causes asthma and so much suffering. When they succeed in shutting down the plant, Jasa concludes that words have power.
Say hi, Jasa. Jasa, say hi.
Hi.
When I was 6, I had a horrible asthma attack to the point where I actually had to exert myself breathing because I had so much trouble pulling air into my lungs.
My sister-in-law was a nurse, and she got her stethoscope and checked Jasa, threw her in my arms, and told me to rush her to the emergency room right now.
A lot of kids in my school have trouble breathing and have to be hospitalized. I know it was really hard for some kids in gym. There was like an entire cabinet filled with asthma medicine. This is the coal-fired power plant.
The coal plant spews a lot of toxins, so I knew that that had something to do with why my daughter had an asthma attack.
My neighborhood isn't very rich. I don't know why there are so many plants in Bridgeport. There's the garbage plant, the sewage plant, the landfill, and the coal-fired power plant. I started searching up power plants, and when I saw how it actually affected people, I thought, that's horrible. I actually have to do something about this. PSEG is the company that runs the power plant in my neighborhood.
PSEG knew what was in their smokestacks.
I really wish I could get into other people's head, like people in the PSEG. What are they thinking, putting polluting power plants in our backyard? I think it may be a case of environmental racism. Up in Westport, they have like mowed lawns, like picture perfect. And this is the most important thing: no power plants. No rich white neighborhood would ever allow some power plant to just be built in their backyard. So what companies do is pick a neighborhood that's poor, and usually these neighborhoods are colored neighborhoods. Some people have had a really big impact on my life. Harriet Tubman proved that if you put your mind to it, you will be able to free yourself from oppression. Martin Luther King proved that not every conflict has to be solved with violence. My mom is my hero because she helps make the world a better place. She's the first sergeant in the Army Reserves. My dad, he's a musician, so he's able to inspire people and make them happy. He plays reggae music because he was born in Jamaica.
What's our goal? No more coal! What's our goal? No more coal!
This group called Healthy Connecticut Alliance asked me if I wanted to do this event speaking to the city hall because I had asthma and I've been affected by it. And I said, yeah, okay.
She's come on stage with me a few times. She came on stage and she took the microphone from me and walked away with it. She's there performing a dance. I'm like, this girl, she has no fear. I was so proud of her. I was surprised when I heard that she was writing her own speeches.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Millers. I am 10 years old and I attend Bryan School.
I didn't know if anybody would listen to me.
I am here today to talk about retiring the coal plant and restricting other bad polluters from polluting Bridgeport.
Because when you're a kid, it's hard to get anybody to listen to you.
I know that Fairfield County has the worst air pollution in the state. I know that because I'm smart and I looked it up on the internet.
That led to a long road of fighting and testifying. I just say what I'm feeling, and it sounds a lot more powerful when you talk from the heart.
It came out that they were going to close the power plant, and I had to hear it a couple of times. Are you sure? Is that what they said? Where is it in writing?
When I found out, I was just ecstatic because we worked so hard to get this place shut down, and it was just really satisfying to know that all of our hard work paid off and that it wouldn't be hurting anybody anymore.
Hi!
Even though I didn't have money, I had words, and words have power.
Tomorrow.
Well, it's time for our morning collection. Donations by check may be mailed to the church office. Electronic donations can be made online through the church website or by texting the word GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the instructions. Now, this is our Share the Plate Sunday, and this week the plate will be shared with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Pittsburgh. And we're now going to have a video about Habitat for Humanity from Kate Keeley.
It's wonderful to be virtually speaking with you today. My name is Kate Keeley. I am the Volunteer Engagement Specialist with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Pittsburgh. More likely than not, you've heard of Habitat for Humanity and its mission of bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope. Our affiliate, Habitat Pittsburgh, takes the same mission and puts it in the context of Allegheny County. Habitat Pittsburgh was founded in 1986 and has since built and/or rehabilitated 103 homes and has repaired 114 homes. Having safe and decent housing is something that many of us take for granted, myself included. All of the local limited income families that we work with are in need of a safe place for them and their families to live. Some families come from homes without heat, with holes in the walls, and with their children walking around the inside of the homes wearing full winter gear just to stay warm. Other families have mold or asbestos in the walls, leaking roofs, or unstable flooring. These are just a few examples of the housing situations some families are in before joining our Partner Family program. Supporting our mission in any way helps families living in unsafe housing achieve their dream of owning a safe and decent home. With your help, we can continue to fight the housing crisis here in Pittsburgh to ensure that all of our neighbors are cared for. Thank you and Happy New Year.
I invite you to bring your hearts together as we reflect upon the many joys and the sorrows in our lives. Each of us is carrying burdens of family lost, of illness and challenges, and each of us are also carrying joys. And sometimes it can be hard to let them both coexist. In our community, I am very sad to share the death of member William or Bill Meyerberg on December 19th and complications from COVID. We also have a celebration, the birthday, 92 years old today for Jen Mann. Many congratulations, Jen. We love you, and we hope you are getting a big smile from all of us. I also want to offer a big joy for yesterday's gathering of a startup workshop with so many members of our community, leaders and new people and longtime members. And it was a great joyous experience to be together, even though it was on Zoom. But it was led by Reverend Sunshine Wolf, and it was a joyous occasion of creativity and vision making. A wonderful joy. I invite you now to hold those joys and those sorrows in your heart and enter into a time of silence and personal prayer and meditation. May the spirit of love and life hold us in our sorrows and our fears, giving us solace and comfort. May the spirit of life and love ease our anxiety with each breath that we take. May the spirit of joy give us lift in our lives, hold our eyes up to the horizon of the future, and feed our hope. May the spirit of justice embolden our words and our deeds and actions to help create a better world for all. And most of all, may the spirit of hope remind us that it is always there. We just need to feed and water it with the beloved presence of community and life on earth. Blessed be, and amen.
Let me share a few steps on my path to seeing environmental and climate justice and racial justice as the same thing. I grew up as an environmentalist, ignorant of systemic racism, white privilege, and settler colonialism. For me, nature was sacred, apart from human intervention. I began to remedy this ignorance, thanks in part to church programming, PIN's Sacred Conversations on Race and Justice, and more recently, UUA Common Reads. In 2018-19, Justice on Earth, People of Faith Working at the Intersections of Race, Class, and the Environment, and in 2019-20, An Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. In 2017, I took a sabbatical, and two big events came to Pittsburgh. I could attend them both. In October, Al Gore trained 1,200 people, and I became a climate reality leader. Besides learning to give a slideshow, I learned that BIPOC, which stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, folks can be powerful and effective advocates for climate justice. I learned about supporting them and their advocacy, letting them speak for themselves, listening, and following their leads. A month later, I attended the People versus Oil and Gas Summit downtown. Many frontline Indigenous people attended, more diversity than the mostly white organizers had planned for. The programming was interrupted to hold a kind of airing of the grievances, and we all heard spokespeople for the Indigenous, Youth, and African American caucuses, an intense opportunity for me to hear and reflect. There was also an action in a Washington County office park. On the bus, I sat next to hereditary Chief Nemox of the Beaver Clan of the Wet'suwet'en First Nation, receiving his personal testimony. Later that day, I felt grateful to march behind him. At Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light's annual conference in October 2018, I had an epiphany while listening to Lakeisha Wolf of the Hill District's Ujamaa Collective. Lakeisha tossed out something profound. We treat the earth like we treat people. I wrote it down. Later, I reversed the order. Don't we treat people like we treat the earth? I searched online to see if either was a quote and decided it was original. When I shopped at Ujamaa, I asked Lakeisha about it. She said, "It sounds like something I would say." Our society treats the earth like it's our expendable infinite resource. If pollution happens elsewhere, we can ignore it. Lakeisha's words helped me realize that we tend to treat people that way too, as if they are expendable, as if their lives don't matter. Those far from us, and sometimes those right in front of us. It's too easy to treat other beings like non-persons as we pursue our short-term convenience. And so I've come to see the roots of the climate crisis and of white supremacy as being the same. As Jackie Patterson said, the taking of necessities from the many to give luxuries to the few. For me, the solutions are quite general. 1, practice empathy and emotional intelligence. 2, learn from complex history and current reality. 3, envision a desired future. And 4, live in the present toward that future. Thank you.
I like to say that life is about perspective. I'm probably not the only one that said that. But since, the dawn of human evolution, when our eyes emerged and we were given an incredible opportunity to contemplate our perspective when we look up at the stars. In that moment, we're given an opportunity to react. We can feel small, insecure, insignificant, overwhelmed, fearful. Or we can feel inspired. We could feel a desire to reach out to those very stars, to touch them, to expand life, to trust. This is evolution. It's how creation happens. It is with expansion. It's not smoothly, it's almost never graceful, and it is not continuous. It comes and fits and starts when we reach out with expansion, with trust. We keep getting tripped up by our senses, our hyperactive senses, which evolved for survival. They're sensitive and constantly monitoring for threat. It's who we are. But in that moment of contemplation, when we're looking up at the great mysteries of the universe, it's a challenge to our perspective. It's an instinct, not really a choice. It's a reaction, and it's built into the mechanism of we're here with self-interest, purely survival, or can we respond from a wellspring of inspiration to reach out and see the complexity of life and our role in that complex web? We react in, simply put words, selfishness or altruism, salvation for one or salvation for all. Humanity reached another significant opportunity in perspective when we started sending balloons up in the 1930s, and we could finally see the curvature of the Earth. And then in 1946, a V-2 rocket gave us the first photograph of the Earth. It was grainy, barely recognizable, but it was a shift. There we were, there we are. The Earth and all of its inhabitants. It's like a mirror holding up to who we are. Next came rockets and people shooting up into the stars, and then finally that famous blue-green marble photograph was gifted to us in December of 1972 from Apollo 17. That moment when we had such clear view of the Earth, it was stunning and continues to blow our minds, this mirror, and invited questions. Who are we and why are we here? It was a major shift in our perspective. And then we gave ourselves the Hubble telescope in the 1990s, and we could start to see millions of light years from our own galaxy. Blows our minds. Our little tiny brains are going tick, 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 tick. How do we react? With fear of threat and insignificance? Or are we inspired and trusting? And now, I hope you're as excited as I am. The Webb telescope is up there, and we are waiting for images that might give us photos back to the beginning of our galaxy. Those cosmic filaments, waves of energy, hydrogen and helium and life and possibility. When our star was born, give or take 13.8 billion years. And here we are, looking back, since that moment when we first stumbled out of our primordial muck, to beginning to look at the beginnings of this star. Our senses are monitoring, is it a threat or is it excitement? Do we fear the future or hope and trust the future? Is it self-interest or altruistic, inspired possibilities? It's not that simple, and yet it is. That reaction happens again and again. It's constant. It's a very subconscious level. It's instinct. But there are certain events that push it higher to our level of consciousness. And it's also not a binary decision. It's not an either or. It's a spectrum, somewhere between deep fear and trust and hope. How we respond is influenced and impacted by fluctuating complex combination of genetics and environment and our mood that day. We're bouncing between fear and trust, withdrawal or expansion, coward or courage, faithless or faithful. And right now, as we're waiting for that Webb telescope to blow our minds, we are also on the cusp of possible planetary destruction. We are being faced with a major conscious choice about how to care for life on this planet. And we are being propelled by a decision, a conscious decision that was made eons ago by people grounded in fear. A life that has been dominated again and again throughout human history. We heard about this decision, this guiding principle in Barbara Litt's beautiful reflection, that the earth and the people are all about self-benefit. We have created a usury-based economy. We have been reacting out of fear and self-interest, usury form of survival on our whole economy. We know when we're filled with fear, our limits of perception. We see everything as a threat. We can't see creativity and possibilities and hope. But the path, the invitation to transcend that fear, to find hope again, to enter into possibility, has throughout human history fallen on religion. It's the religious dreamers, visionaries, and hopefuls that have created a self-regulating countermeasure to fear and self-interest. We invented God. And we face the real possibility that God is not enough. With human possible extinction, serious existential threats, certainly from climate crisis, the role of God is going to play an important role. And our faith plays an important role. And it's not necessarily about protection from the inevitable. It's a call. It's a call, a deep religious call to altruism and a visionary perspective. And adding to this complexity is another moral and religious call. It's something that for we white people in the dominant culture need to begun to wake up to, that BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, they've been experiencing all their lives. They've been experiencing that usury economic existence. Humanity keeps choosing to use the earth and its people for self-interest. And those with the least amount of power are BIPOC, women, disabled, poor, outcasts. They've been at greater risk of poor health and death. Professor Robert Bullard wrote, "Whether by conscious design or institutional neglect, communities of color in urban ghettos and rural poverty pockets, or on economically impoverished Native American reservations, face some of the worst environmental devastation in our nation." End quote. So my beloved Unitarian Universalists, we have to ask, where is our holy church? I believe the charge of the Holy Church is to protect the earth and all its inhabitants. We do so by inviting, creating, reminding, pointing at, participating in, celebrating creation, the earth and all its inhabitants. Through constant revelation, we are reminded of our call to engage in creation again and again, even out of the debris of destruction. We can do that. That's actually bound up in the Hindu scriptures. When we find our fear dissolving, we see possibilities. So here's a story of creation out of destruction. The city of Atlanta, struggling like so many cities in America with poverty and racism and embedded institutional oppression. Well, they had a over 7-acre abandoned pecan farm in the middle of everything, growing weeds and collecting debris. And through the combination of government and non-government partnership, they turned it into our country's first free food forest. It is now 7.1 acres of land that is ripe with 2,500 pesticide-free edible and medicinal plants. The forest is part of the City of Atlanta's larger plan to bring healthy food to within a half mile of 85% of its city residents. They want to do that by 2022. That was before the pandemic, so we'll see how they survived that one. But did you know that at one point it was actually illegal to grow food on residential lots in the city of Atlanta? But resources like the food forest are a rarity and they're a necessity. In Atlanta alone, 1 in 6 Atlantans live in food deserts that are so severe that most of them just call it supermarket redlining. In the state, 1 in 6 Georgians live with food scarcity. That forest that came out of an abandoned farm is now owned by the Parks Department, and more than 1,000 volunteers and neighbors help plant and water and maintain that forest. And any given day, you can find about 50 volunteers giving testimony to what a community building place that food forest is. And there are more initiatives in other urban cities that are catching on. There are now at least 70 free food forests in this country, including Seattle and Portland and Asheville. I haven't seen anything about one being in Pittsburgh. But over thousands and thousands of pounds of food are being harvested every year for free for those who most need it. The sustainable food forest was created because of a shift in perspective from abandoned urban blight to community-sustaining food, from disempowering fear to possibility. When faced with these moments of shifting perspective, a starry night, distant galaxy, we face conscious opportunity to practice something, to expand our vision beyond our own fear and self-interest, and enter the world of possibilities. That is exactly why we ended up going from a V2 rocket to the Hubble to the Webb, because people chose to expand into the stars. Moments like this, not just from seeing the stars and cosmic filaments, they can happen with the birth of a baby, or a friend reaching out a hand when in need, with love given and received, with music and paintings and crafts and dance and flowers. They can happen in the spring when the buds emerge. They can happen on a hot summer day when the breeze reminds us of our humanity, or on a cold winter's day and a hot bath easing the cold in our bones. We have a moment to let go of our fear. These are perspective shifting moments when we are lightened and opened up and we find hope again. Hope is an orientation of the heart. It's a perspective on the horizon, and it's grounded in a truth that we are inextricably reliant on one another. And with this truth coursing through our bodies, with our hope focused on the future of possibility, we have energy. We have energy to engage and feel empowered and know that when we are in this buzz mode, we have action in times of fear and destruction. This is hard work. Hard work, my friends. We have a lot to learn. Some of us need some humble moments. When those of us, particularly on the white end of the spectrum, we may need to move aside As Barbara testified, we need to learn and listen from our BIPOC siblings who have been living with climate and environmental destruction in their neighborhoods, in their lives. I had such a moment of learning this past fall. I was invited to get to meet Representative Gainey, our now mayor, and I asked him a question, and I said, what kind of plans do you have to mitigate for climate crisis in our city? Thinking he'd talk about flooding or weather issues. And instead, he looked at me and he said, we have issues, and we are going to be focusing on air pollution, and we're going to be focusing on lead paint. And that's where our issues are. And he talked about how to address those issues. And afterward, I went, that's not the answer I was expecting. And I thought, did he misunderstand me? What's this about climate crisis with lead paint and air pollution? And it was only later, after talking with more Black leaders in the environmental movement, that I realized I needed to check my white privilege. I needed a moment to rethink and realize that people in our segregated Black communities, their environmental justice issues are about lead paint. They're about flooding. They're about air pollution. And needed to make some assumptions and put them aside. With this intersection of environmental crises and racism and poverty and oppression, I've been listening to, and I've been exploring with many of our lay leaders here at First Unitarian, lay leaders in social justice, Green Sanctuary, and anti-racism team. And we've been exploring some ideas about where this congregation can go with our passion and our interest, and to revitalize our energy and our hope. So we're looking at exploring a congregation-wide focus, a focus that we're going to invite you to vote on at the May annual meeting. What would it look like for the whole congregation to focus on environmental justice, on climate crises, and issues within the city of Pittsburgh that impact all of us? Our leaders have already begun to lay a path and a vision that is so exciting. We need to work on 4 areas. One is action on justice issues right in our community. Get out there in the streets and be an ally, be an advocate, and to listen and learn. Another 2 is public advocacy for climate and environmental justice. Talk to our political leaders. 3, we need to mind our own store. That is reducing our own carbon footprint here in our beautiful building. And 4, we need to educate. We need to keep learning because things are happening and things are changing. And that's exciting. So my beloved people, I hope you join us for a conversation after this service at 1 o'clock. I've been told to clarify that the link for that Zoom is in the order of service in the document that's in the attachment when you got the link for this service. Where is our holy church, people? Where is our holy church? It's right here, it's in our hearts, and it's in our perspective on the horizon. Does our perspective include the hearts of all life on earth? Yes. Does our perspective include holding open the gates of hope, where all can see the horizon of the stars and the galaxies and those cosmic filaments of the universe? Does that horizon include clean drinking water, reducing air pollution so children can breathe? Does that vision include mitigating floods and making sure people are safe in their homes? Yes. Is it daunting? Yes. Is it overwhelming? Yes. Does hope sometimes stumble and pause? Yes. When my hope wanes, when I find my perspective has withdrawn and fear is filling my brain and my body again, I remember the teachings of the great warrior Joanna Macy, co-author of Active Hope. And I begin to honor the pain and the grief and the too many losses, and I taste the tears of disappointment. And I force my eyes to look up and outward and toward the window, away from my screen of despair. I remember all who have gone before me, my ancestors, your ancestors, our ancestors, those who found fire and took the first steps out of the waters of this precious earth. I find a tree, I touch its bark, I feel its texture, I smell its earthy roots coming from the depths of seeds planted long ago. And I look up at the branches, at the leaves, and I look past them into the sky, and I readjust my perspective. I see the interdependent web of life, our own Unitarian Universalist seventh principle. And I remember, I'm part of something much, much bigger. I'm not alone, I'm not small, I'm not inconsequential, and I consciously choose that I tip evolution towards salvation for all. It's a practice, my friends, and we need to do it again and again. It's a spiritual practice to remind my little tiny brain and give evolution a little tiny bump in the right direction. Hope is found in the horizon of our heart, where the seeds of stars are born again and again. My friends, are you looking up? Are you looking up into the stars on the horizon of hope? Do you feel a moment? Will you choose to save us all? May it be so. Blessed be.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat
If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to extinguish it, and I invite you to speak these words together. along with many, many other Unitarian Universalists as we extinguish our chalice here. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth, my beloved. Go forth into this world and know that you are significant. We need you as part of this mission of universal salvation for all life on earth. It's a big blue boat, and we are headed to salvation for all. Come again with love. Come again with peace.